Hello, I'm Edwin, and today on Safe TV, we're going to be talking about tips for motorists, different types of bicycle tires, and choosing the right bike.
You may have noticed that in recent years, the amount of cyclists in Chicago has majorly increased. It makes sense that more people are biking. It's a great form of transportation. Biking is fun, it's good exercise, it doesn't harm our environment, which is huge, and it's a cheap and fast way to get around the city. If you get around Chicago, you will see and interact with cyclists. Not only do they have a right to be on the road, it's where they're expected to be. Did you know that it's illegal to ride your bike on the sidewalk in Chicago if you are 12 or older?
That's right, Emmy. But for many motorists, sharing the road with cyclists can be confusing and scary if they don't know what to expect. Today, we're going to talk about some important laws regarding bicycles, how to avoid crashes with them, and methods for safely sharing the road.
Let's start by talking about the road. The way the road is designed plays a big part in proper and safe road use. And infrastructure like bike lanes encourage people to travel by bicycle by giving them a designated space on the street, making it easier to share space with motorists. But be aware that cyclists are not required to ride in the bike lane and will often have to merge with traffic to avoid hazards like potholes, glass, debris, or make a left turn.
Yeah, one hazard that we often see in the bike lane are parked cars. Motorists should avoid driving, parking, picking up, or dropping off anyone within a bike lane. It is illegal and forces oncoming cyclists to merge with traffic, which can be challenging and unsafe.
Even when there is a bike lane, it can be nerve-wracking as a driver to pass a cyclist when you don't know if there's enough room. Always make sure you can and do give at least 3 feet of space when passing a cyclist. It's safe, it's polite, and it's the law.
There are, of course, roads that are too narrow to allow this. By law, cyclists may legally take the lane. If you need to pass them, yield the lane to the cyclist and wait for a break in oncoming traffic or pass in the other lane.
One of the most dangerous parts of the road to navigate are intersections. Indeed, most crashes occur near intersections.
Another potential for danger on the road is turning right. If you are a motorist, do not pass a cyclist if you will be making a right turn immediately after. Check your blind spots and let any cyclist proceed first.
Similarly, when turning left, yield to oncoming cyclists as you would any other vehicle. Take extra care to make sure it's safe as you turn, as it can be hard to see oncoming bicyclists past the potential row of motorist traffic.
Crashes between cyclists and motorists can happen even after the vehicle is parked. When someone forgets to look before opening a vehicle door, it results in a crash we call dooring.
Dooring is one of the most common car and bike crashes in Chicago. Help make the city a safer place by getting in the habit of looking before you open your door or practicing the Dutch reach. This is a technique where you open your vehicle door with the inside arm, reminding you to pivot your body and look before opening the door to make sure that there isn't oncoming bike traffic.
Sharing the road is made easier when all road users follow the rules and know what to expect. We can't control everything, but with caution and care, we can all get to where we need to be safely and comfortably.
Hello, my name's Edwin. I'm a Safe Ambassador for the Department of Transportation, and today we're going to be talking about how to choose the right bike for yourself and the different types of bikes. And today I actually have Jack, who is actually looking for a new bike. So I'll let Jack introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Jack. I've been riding divvy bikes around town. I love biking in Chicago, but I'm looking for something that I could bike a little longer distance, carry a bit more stuff, and have something of my own.
Yeah, okay. So I know you said that you might want to be going longer distances, so you might be considering a touring bike, which is going to have drop handlebars, which is going to be comfortable for longer periods of times on your wrist. Also, a touring bike has brace-ons for a rack, so you could carry panniers on your rack, you could carry a basket on your rack. But I also heard that you're interested in doing stuff around town, which you might be interested in a hybrid slash commuter bike, which is very versatile. You could almost do the same things as a touring bike. It has racks on it. You could put a rack on it. Also, you could put wider tires, which is going to be comfortable for going around town. Since Chicago is pretty flat, another bike I would consider would be maybe a single speed. So it doesn't have a derailleur for you to change gears. So those gears help you go up hills faster and easier. So a single speed might be easier for you because it's only one gear, and since Chicago is really flat, you basically only need one gear. Also, an advantage of a single speed is that it's going to be easier to maintain, and also it's going to be easier to maintain during the winter. You don't have to worry about your cassette or derailleur getting gunked up with snow or slush. Another question I want to ask, do you find yourself maybe cruising around town, maybe on the lakefront?
Oh yeah, that's what I sometimes do on the divvies.
Yeah, so a divvy is actually a perfect example of a cruiser bike, which is generally you're going to be sitting back on the seat. Handlebars are going to be wider. And if you're just cruising around on the lakefront or maybe off-street, not main roads, you might consider a cruiser bike.
Oh, so that's if I don't really want to put too much effort and go too fast?
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, a cruiser bike is just mainly for you to like leisurely go around town.
What if I want to take my bike off-road?
Oh yeah, so if you're looking to take your bike off-road, a hybrid slash commuter bike can accommodate for wider tires. So if you're looking just to go, are you looking to go on like gravel trails, or are you looking to go?
Yeah,
like,
nothing too intense, not like mountain biking.
okay, yeah. So if you're not looking into mountain biking, actually, commuter slash hybrid bike, those tires can be perfect for gravel and crushed limestone. Also, a touring bike can accommodate for wider tires. So if you're looking to go longer distances, carry some load, two perfect bikes I think that would be perfect for you would be either a touring bike or a hybrid slash commuter bike. Do you have any other questions?
What's the difference? What's the main difference between the touring bike and the commuter bike?
So the main difference would generally be the handlebars between the touring and commuter bike. A commuter bike is going to have flat handlebars, which is easier for going around town, kind of maneuvering around cars and maybe potholes. A touring bike is going to have drop handlebars, which makes it comfortable over long periods of time because your wrists are more in a natural position like this. So your wrists actually are parallel with your arm. So that makes it way more comfy over long periods of times compared to a flat handlebar, which this creates a lot of pressure in your wrist. And over long distances, that might become uncomfortable. And also, another difference between a commuter bike and a touring bike would be the length of the wheelbase. So a touring bike is going to have a longer wheelbase. That's so it could be more stable over long periods of time, and also it makes it easier to carry your heavier weights. So a touring bike can generally carry a lot more weight than a commuter slash hybrid bike.
So how do I know if the bike is the right size for me?
Generally, we have a size chart for making sure that bikes are the right size for you. So that chart is going to have, it's going to depend on the height you are, and that depends the size of the bike. So generally, most bikes go off of centimeters. So a bike frame can come in a range from 50 centimeters to up to 62 centimeters. So the smaller the frame, the shorter you have to be to ride that frame. So how tall are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm about 6'3".
6'3". So generally above 6 foot, you're going to want a frame that's above 60 centimeters.
Okay.
So I would probably recommend a frame about 62 centimeters. But also some frame sizes or frame manufacturers and bike manufacturers might actually size your bikes by like how you size your clothes, small, medium, large, and extra large. And generally above 6 foot, you're going to want an extra large frame. Another way to measure frame size is actually going up to the bike and standing over it. You should have enough space in between the bike frame and your crotch, you should be able to fit 2 fingers in between there. You don't want a bike that's too big and be uncomfortable to stand over. And that can sometimes be dangerous because if you come into an emergency situation and you need to get off your bike, you want to be able to stand over that frame comfortably. But also, you don't want a frame that's too small for yourself. Because generally, if a frame's too small for yourself, you're going to be hunched over like this. And a perfect frame size, you should be able to reach out onto the handlebars, have a good bend in your elbows. You don't want to be extending your elbows. You want to have a good bend in your elbows. You want to be comfortable, relaxed up here. And with a smaller frame size, you're going to be feeling like this. Also, with the smaller frame size, you might run into the issues of you not having enough pedal. So what I mean by not having enough pedal is that you might not be able to, the seat might not go far enough for you to get that full range of motion in that pedal. So generally, you want to make sure when you're buying your bike, you get the correct frame size because you can't correct the wrong frame size.
Can you tell me what the difference is between the more expensive bikes and the less expensive bikes?
Oh yeah. So generally, what's your price range for your bike that you're planning on getting?
I think around $300 to $500.
$300 to $500. That's a pretty decent price range because if you go under $300, you're generally going to get a heavier bike with lower quality parts, and that's going to end up you maybe riding slower and not having a more comfortable riding experience. And also, those cheaper bikes are going to be less durable over time. So a good price range, I would say, is that $300 to $500 price range because you're going to get a lighter frame that's generally going to be aluminum or higher quality steel. Also, you're going to get more durable parts. So these parts are going to be serviceable, they're going to be durable, and generally they're going to last a lot longer than the cheaper frames, cheaper price range. You could also go as high as, like, let's say $6,000 to $1,000 bikes. Those are generally more specialized bikes. Those are going to be bikes for specific tasks, like a road bike, which in that price range you might find a lot lighter frames, like maybe you might find carbon fiber, you might find titanium frames, which aren't necessarily need them, but they're nice to have. But in that price range you're looking for, you're generally going to get those good quality frames that are going to last long.
Oh yeah, I noticed these 2 bikes have different brakes.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So the 2 different brake types we have on bikes are either disc brakes and also rim brakes. So the difference is that rim brakes, there's a clamp that's clamping on the rim and that's stopping the bike. Disc brakes stop a lot like your car, which they have a disc and a caliper clamps on that disc connected to the wheel. And the main differences between a rim brake and disc brake is that generally disc brakes are going to be better brakes overall. They're going to be better in wet conditions and also in, let's say you're going over some dirt or some gravel and that dust. That's not going to interfere with the braking surface on the rim. So disc brakes are generally going to be better for rainy conditions and also hilly conditions. But that's not to say that rim brakes are not good brakes. They're awesome brakes. They've been around for hundreds of years and they've stopped plenty of bikes. But disc brakes are generally a new technology that are coming out, and you're going to find them on newer bikes because generally they're going to be more reliable.
It sounds like disc brakes are pretty much better than rim brakes?
Yes and no. Disc brakes are, let's say, the more luxurious thing on the bike. Like, you can have them, they're going to stop your bike better. But rim brakes are just like, they're going to be more serviceable. They're going to be easier to maintain. Parts are going to be cheaper, but also you're still going to get that stopping power if they're adjusted properly than rim brakes. But generally, disc brakes are going to be a little bit better overall, but rim brakes are still good to have. Also, one thing I want to recommend while you're looking for your new bike is, since you're going to be carrying that weight on your bike and you want to have a rack on your bike, one thing I would recommend is looking for those braze-ons, or they're called braze-ons or eyelets. There are these little holes on the back of your frame where you could screw in a rack. So that's going to make it a lot easier and not have you modify your frame at all to have that rack. So make sure you look out for that since you are looking for that rear rack on your bike. So Jack, so now that I've gone over all the different types of bikes, what bike are you considering?
It's a hard question. I've definitely got it narrowed down to either a hybrid or a touring bike.
Okay.
I think if I can find one in my price range, I'll go for a touring bike.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for being up here and having me recommend use different types of bikes and explaining the different types of bikes.
Thanks for all the great advice.
All right, you're welcome.
Here at Diversity in Natchez, a pedestrian island has been installed to make it safer, easier, and less stressful to cross the street. Pedestrian refuge islands are being installed all over the city, so here at CDOT, we decided to go ahead and provide some information about why the city is investing in this type of pedestrian infrastructure. The lack of pedestrian islands meant crosswalkers had to quickly run across the street, or sometimes even wait in the middle of the street waiting for cars to pass. This is dangerous, especially for folks who might walk slower, as it puts them in a vulnerable position to cars that are whizzing by. Now, with the pedestrian island, Chicagoans can cross halfway and safely wait in the middle of the street to make it across because of the cement-protected barriers. The pedestrian refuge island also provides better visibility for cars to be aware of pedestrians from farther away. It also helps emphasize that pedestrians have the right of way when it comes to crossing a street, thus making it safer to cross the street and promoting walking in our lovely city.
Hello everyone, my name is Citlali Moran, but everyone knows me as Cici, and I'm with the Safe Ambassadors with the Chicago Department of Transportation, and I'm here to teach you about the different types of tires for the different types of bicycles. So why are tires very important? The reason why tires are very important on the bicycle is because tires are the only thing that are physically touching the ground when you are riding your bike, and you also want to have a good set of tires for when you're riding around in the city, for example, like Chicago. So depending on the different types of surface that you will be riding on, you would want to get a different type of tire for the surface. For example, if you are riding on a rocky or muddy surface, you would want to get a mountain bike tire because the mountain bike tire actually is much thicker and it has more tread on it. Unlike this one's actually a urban/commuter type of tire, which has minimal tread, not too much. And these are more for city riding, not rocky or any muddy type of riding. Now, if we can see this tire, the road tires are actually much skinnier than this tire, and they have zero tread to it. They are frequently used on paved trails and alongside with roads, just like we have some beautiful bike trails here in Chicago. Now, for the most common type of bike tire that is used here in the city or in just most paved areas, we would usually see the urban/commuter type of tire because this has some tread to it, which helps it ride on wet pavement, and it won't let the bike slip when you're riding on the wet pavement. We want to also focus that this tire has puncture protection, unlike the other ones, because this one's specifically made for the city because there's a lot of debris here out in the city. For example, there's a lot of glass that's on the roads when there's construction areas, and there's also, especially if you're riding alongside a sort of forest or a forest preserve, you can also find some branches, some just small wooden sticks just lying there, and it also could, sometimes it's sharp at one end and could just puncture the tire, but these tires are specifically made not to get punctured as much. Now, I'm going to be helping you read the different types of numbers on the tire. The first number that we want to focus on is the 700 by 35C. 700 represents the outer diameter of the tire, while 35C represents the width of the tire, which is this. This is the width of the tire. The second number that I want to go over with you is the 55 to 85 psi, which indicates the air that's supposed to go into your tire. Now we want to stay in the higher range of this, so around 85 or 80 to 85 psi, because that means your tire will be properly inflated, and because of this proper inflation, it's going to help you reduce the amount of flats that you have on the road when you are riding in the city. You might ask yourself, when is it the best time to change the tire on my bike? Now, I will help you see this through a visual representation. Now, if you guys can see the small line that's right in the running through the middle of the tire, this is actually an indicator to help you see that if the line is completely gone by the time that you look over your tire, that means it's the best time to remove it, just because it doesn't have any more tread and it's not gonna be safe for you to ride on the tires or on your bike anymore. If you have any other questions about the different types of tires, please head to your local bike shop and they will have answers about the different types of tires that you will be looking into. Thank you.
That's all we have for now. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more, follow us on chicagocompletestreets.org.